Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Happy Friday. Welcome back. Doesn't it seem like I say that all the time? That makes me nervous. That makes me feel like time is moving much faster than it needs to move. Welcome back. It is great to see you on this Friday night. It is so beautiful here. It was like 75 degrees today, maybe a little bit more. I hope things are changing in your neck of the woods. I hope things are temperate and cheerful, and you feel that spring vibe surging right through you, and you feel like working on your projects and going out there and being the wizard and all of that stuff. It is so nice here. I'm really enjoying it. Melanie, great to see you. Welcome back in Washington. Just having an owl, a bowl of Captain Crunch. God, that's so good. Is it the classic Captain Crunch, or is it the one? Because now they have all berries, and they also have no berries, and they also have, I think, all of one color berry. There's so many ways to put sugar inside of your body, and they're all delicious. Not, I can't fault any of the ways. They are all delicious. The kids still once in a while get Captain Crunch, and I sneak some berries out in the little pillows. They are so good. Nice and sunny there today. That's fantastic. Melissa, great to see you in Canada. Good Friday evening. Good Friday evening to you too. You just ordered the book. Oh, you're not going to be sorry. We are continuing our conversation on this book tonight. Let me just give you a sneak preview. Got my bookmark in there. This book by Jovan Nicholson, and it's called Winifred Nicholson, Cumbrian Rag Rugs. And by rag rugs, we're talking about hooked rugs. If you saw the show on Monday, we started looking at this book. You got kind of a feel and a flavor for it, because this book is very much in the British tradition of rag rug making, and this is exactly where I want to be in my life with my rug making. Right, this is as you'll see in tonight's show. You know, it is the old school way. It is like the ripping up stuff and choosing your colors and mixing colors, and it is the traditional way it originally was. I almost said way it was meant to be, but however you hook is how it's meant to be for you. But this is the sort of old school original way of rug hooking. Rag rug, thrifty, right? Using your rag bag. I heard a different expression for rag bag. I heard something on a TV show. God, what was it? It was like, wasn't rag bag. Might have been something else bag. It was on, I was watching like a British mystery or something, and I thought, isn't that cute? That is, I hope it comes to me, not in the middle of the night. But I just love this style of hooking. And obviously, Winifred Nicholson is a famous, along with Ben, her husband, famous British artists. And we don't hear about them here in the US as much as we should. And we really ought to hear more about, they were like a power art couple of the earlier 20th century. And, going right through the center. But we looked at a few of Winifred's still lifes on Monday's episode. Her still lifes are they're just amazing. I love, we talked about this, so I won't go down the same road, but like still lifes with vessels and views out the window of the Isle of Wight, or, there's so many beautiful pieces in this book. It's amazing. You will never be disappointed with this. It's a nice, thick book, hardcover, high quality. And it's not just the story of the Nicholsons, like it's specifically Winifred, but it is the story of rug hooking. So our lives cross in this book. It's a beautiful tribute to traditional rug hooking, and we're seeing rugs that we have not seen before, and that really is something. More on that in just a second. I'll finish saying hello. Oh, Mom, you are there. Let me catch up with the thread here. Oh, Melissa, you're having coffee and strawberry rhubarb pie. That is, of the pies, that's my favorite, strawberry rhubarb. That is so good. That nice tang from the rhubarb. Myra, great to see you. Good evening in Virginia. Good to see you. Joyce, great to see you in Pennsylvania, where the trees are finally in bloom. I love it when the trees are in bloom. I wish they were in bloom for more than 5 minutes, because it's like in both. Well, I think the front yard was full blast. It's like some kind of a flowering cherry. And the backyard was not quite. Like, I took Teddy to school yesterday or the day before, and I said, look at those little buds. First they looked like little pussy willows, like they were furry. And then I said, look, you can see the pink on the buds. That's going to be in flower soon. When we came home that afternoon, it was not only in flower, but there was like petals on the ground, like it was half spent. It was like, wow, this happened so fast. It is so beautiful. You don't want to go on vacation for the 2 days, right? That all of that is going on. Catherine, great to see you in Southern California. It is super cloudy and cool there. Gosh, unexpected. Mom, it was great to see you today. We had a great day over at the church. We watched the Mom, what was it called? It was the Emily Dickinson movie. It was a little bit older because it had Cynthia Nixon, I think her name is, from Sex and the City. She was fantastic as Emily Dickinson. It was very emotional. It was dark. It was sad. You know, it's like autobiographical. But I thought it was very atmospheric. It was artsy. It was not a feel good movie, right? If you're already right on the edge, like one foot in misery and the other on a banana peel, this is not the movie for you. I think it's called Quiet Passion, A Quiet Passion, something like that. It really was a beautiful movie, but make sure you are emotionally prepared for it, right? It's not like, it's not a Friday night like, ooh, that was a tough week. Let's watch something fun. It's not that, but it is a great movie. Okay, let's see. Sue's great to see you in Kansas. Oh, I knew what you meant, Melanie. I knew. It was fun. It was fun figuring it out for a second, though. Catherine, great to see you in Missouri. Happy Friday night. And Judy, happy Friday night. Happy weekend to you too. Great to see you. No berries. Oh, you get the one with all the little pillows. Those are very tasty and buttery too. They are so good. Ryan, I haven't seen you for a while. Welcome back. Happy sunny after the rain Friday in North Texas. Hard seltzer and takeout tonight. Ooh, what kind of takeout did you get? That sounds fantastic. Peace and love to you too. Linda in New Jersey. Cheers, my dears. Great to see you. Joe, you logged on in Australia. Great to see you. I know exactly who that is. I know just who you are. Joe from your rug cooking class. Oh, Joe, no, different Joe. Joe, different Joe. There's two Joe P's. That's not fair. That's not fair. Good to see you. Haven't forgotten about the new hands. Okay, I know it's a hard day of the week. I might change it. Not this coming week, I don't think, but the next week I might move it back, move it to Friday like our old. And I'll tell everybody in case anyone else wants to come to my weekly meetup in Hartford if anyone's near Connecticut. Um, no, I know you didn't forget. Life is busy. I'll let you know when we change it, but we're gonna, I think, change it back to Friday. But I'll let you know before, because you're doing some babysitting. Oh, that is fun. Dave, great to see you. Okay, I'm gonna guess, Dave. I'm gonna guess because you haven't written it yet. I'm gonna go again because sooner or later I'm gonna be right with the hard cider, and I'm gonna go with. Last time I went with pulled pork sandwich. Why don't we say something different? Why don't? But you do eat stuff like that. I'm going to double down. Pulled pork and hard cider. That is my guess for tonight. Gail, great to see you in Australia. I know you're in Australia. Great. Good morning to you, sunshine. Oh, did you see that, Melissa? That was a great movie. Quiet Passion. Yep, it was great. It was literally dark. Like it was also depressing a little bit. But Emily Dickinson. But the movie was quite dark. But it's one of those movies, when you watch a movie like, for me, it's like the E.M. Forster movies, like Room with a View and Maurice, like those kinds of movies. Enchanted April, the Elizabeth von Arman, like those. Sometimes there's those movies that are so artsy and they're so kind of slow moving, and they give you so much beautiful detail and camera work that it's almost like, that night, overnight, while you're sleeping, or 10 years later, you are thinking like, oh, it was like that time I was sitting in that room with the pretty slipcover, and then you wonder if you actually did it, or if the movie was so good that you're remembering a movie. You know what I mean? That happens to me all the time. I love those movies, but sometimes I get confused later about whether or not it was real or not. Maybe it's just me, but those really descriptive scenes, it was really a beautiful movie. Ruth, great to see you. Welcome back. Happy Friday night. Sharon, happy Friday night. Great to see you. Yep, we'll all get together again at Hands and Hearts for sure. I know life is just busy, and summer is hard too. So I have an exciting bit of news for you, and I'll keep an eye on the thread as we'll be here for a couple hours as the time goes by. I don't want to rush anything. I was very excited because the author of this book, the grandson of Ben and Winifred Nicholson, Jovan Nicholson, wrote after the show. And I got very excited because he imparted some great information to me that I will share with you. I don't know if anyone is logged on in the UK tonight. I don't see our UK buddies, but there might. Rita, great to see you. there might be some UK buddies. Jessica, great to see you. I just 1 minute before the show opened, I looked at the emails you sent and my heart was racing. I I am so excited. Thank you so much for all the stuff that you're sending and the thing with the swatches and oh my God, amazing. And I can't wait to share that. So Jovan wrote, and he is again the grandson of Ben and Winifred Nicholson. And I didn't realize that he had written other books. So I have another book about the Nicholsons, and he was also the author of that. I don't know if that's advertised in this book. I don't think it is, but it's the paintings. And I have loved that book. I got it not that long ago, and beautiful. So Jovan is like a great sort of just a quick glance at the internet historian, and obviously in family historian, and world class historian aside from family connections, but just like the keeper of all of this great storytelling in family history. Was very excited. I was very excited to hear from him. So um, he said the rugs that we're looking at in this book, right? This is an exhibit right now that is in the UK. Now get ready. In case you're there or if you're watching this episode, if you're in the UK, you might be watching this episode tomorrow because of the time difference. So right now, the Nicholson exhibit with paintings and rugs is at Tooley House in Carlisle till, and I think, is Carlisle Wales? Is that Wales? Carlisle, Tooley House, Tullie, until June 15th. And that it is going to another venue. And when he wrote the book, he didn't know it was going to go to another venue. And after Tooley House, again, closing on June 15th, the show will travel to the Hub in Sleaford, Lincolnshire. Sorry. I lived in England for years and I'm still struggling with like simple sounds. Sorry about that. It'll travel to the Hub in Sleaford, and that's Sleaford, Lincolnshire, and the exhibit will show from July 19th to November 16th. So that's interesting because depending on how I feel things are going in this country with traveling and stuff, the little stupid alarmist things that I worry about because there's reason. Maybe those things will be a little bit different by then because I would love to shoot out there to see the show in Sleaford. I would love to do that. I can also think of another place I would love to have this show in 2027. So let's see how if we can evolve that idea, because I would love to see some of the Winifred Nicholson rugs in the United States. I really would. The audience in the UK, I'm sure, is super appreciative and very, very lucky to be geographically close enough to see this exhibit. It would be great also to have it. I would love to have it here in New England, where it is a hornet's nest of rug hookers, and I think people would go out of their minds, like literally go out of their minds. So to be continued on that. Jessica says, hello everyone, sitting with my ginger ale and hooking. Oh, that is fun. That is fun. Yeah, you're doing some amazing work. I'm going to jump right back in here. Have I got anything that's important to say before? It's been such a busy day, and it's been a great day. I got some work done earlier. I recorded a video that I haven't posted yet. I have to edit it. It's going to take like 10 seconds, well, 10 minutes, but I haven't had 10 minutes yet. But I recorded a nice video this morning because I realized that I was going to head over to the church in Hartford, so that's like 40 minutes away from me, and I was going to eat lunch over there with the girls, and the movie was going to be put on, and I always want to hook during the movie because I can't stand just sitting there, right? And then we were working on making a little exhibit for a memorial service tomorrow for one of the ladies who has passed away, and she did beautiful pastel work in her life. She did the most tremendous work, and I think I've showed you the red piece she did there. I don't know if you can see this piece behind me. It's a pastel on brown paper. I thought, ooh, that would make a great rug. So I went and took photographs of a lot of her work. It's very rug worthy. It's really beautiful work. And I would love to think about doing some projects within the congregation, to celebrate some of Beverly's designs. So we were working on assembling that until the very last minute, and then I came shooting home through crazy traffic. I mean, I almost got taken out several times by terrible drivers, and then I went to start picking up kids for like sleepovers tonight. So it has been fraught with craziness. But the thing about the video I recorded is that I had this experience that I bet a lot of you have had, where I knew I'd be sitting watching a movie for a couple hours and I thought, oh God, what can I bring to work on? Because I bring my small frame. I don't bring my big frames in the car. What can I bring to work on? And I thought, oh man, the two projects I've got on the front burners right now are like, they're both projects that I'm not really sure about the color planning. And then it's like, well, I could bring a bunch of colors and decide there, but then I need to bring my cutter. And I thought, no, let's not do this. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I work on a project for the next Halloween book, the Mystic Carpet, coming out this year? And I thought, why don't I do a video of drawing something freehand onto the backing? See if anybody wants to follow along with me and draw something similar. The pattern will be, as long as it comes out good, it will be in the Mystic Carpet book this autumn. But in the meantime, I thought, I bet you've had this problem too, where you really want to bring something, but nothing you have is exactly ready. And you don't want to go out there with like 16 duffel bags of wool just to be sure you have the color. You need to bring something that's practical. So the way it was, I drew something right on the backing, and you'll see that in the video later tonight. And I brought one ball of color changing wool, which is the background. And all I brought was my small frame, the drawing that I made on the backing fabric, the one cake of wool, and my hook and my scissors. I mean, easy peasy. It went in a shopping bag. It went in a bag from Marshall's, easy. So always thought, because sometimes I'm not ready to spring with like my stuff ready. And it's always good to think, you know what, let me just bring a piece of backing fabric and do an original piece. That speaks to the intention of this book too, because the style of hooking, wait till you see some of the things, some of the slides tonight where inspiration comes from, right? It comes from everywhere. So there's a couple new places in this book because it's broken into sort of sections. We'll look at rugs that are inspired by children's drawings, and we'll look at a couple of rugs that were inspired by postcards. Inspiration is all around us, right? It's just, you have your eyes open. Are you in a good mood and you have your eyes open, or you got your eyes half shut because you just can't handle life right now? Both of those things happen to all of us all the time. You just want to get an idea recorded during one of those times that you feel good and your eyes are open, right? What else can you do? So nice to see Bebs. Yeah, I love that piece so much. Here, let me show you close up. It's such a cute piece. I want to show you better. I've got it here with my cutter and everything. Look at how nice this is. I know the green isn't going to come out great with the green screen, but isn't that a beautiful rug design? I just think it's just gorgeous. It's got that looseness like of an Alice Butler. I just love it. I love the little sort of flower details around the top too. There were so many there. I mean, I wanted to take all of them. Mom, don't let Evan get rid of any. Put them all aside. Don't throw any away, because if they're there, I'll take them and I'll store them. We'll do something with them. We will definitely do something with them. You have to honor people's work, right? Especially when it's nice work like this. Yeah, you have to honor them in their work, like the best you can for as long and as often as you can. Wendy, great to see you jumping in from warm and rainy Western Pennsylvania. That sounds like spring. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, tomorrow is the Fiber Festival in Connecticut. It's only one day. It's not all weekend. So if you are coming to the Fiber Festival, it is tomorrow only. If you are thinking, oh, I heard it's going to be awful weather tomorrow, it is going to be awful weather tomorrow. But luckily, all of the stalls with all of the yarn and everything, I think the Nutmeg chapter of Atha will be there. There'll be some rug hooking stuff. There'll be some yarn stuff. It's all under like tents, like permanent tents. So you'll get wet walking into the tent. And then you'll be so ready to shop for fiber to do your hooking and your punching. Joy, great to see you. Happy Friday. So yeah, miserable day tomorrow. But if you are anywhere near North Haven, Connecticut, starting at 9 a.m., I think it's 9 to 5, working 9 to 5. 9 to 5 tomorrow, the North Haven Fairground, the Connecticut Fiber Festival. Maybe it's called Sheep and Wool. It's tomorrow. And I posted it in our Facebook group as well. So if you will be there, I will see you there. Make sure you come and say hello. Okay, let's come back because we left off here, and I'm not showing you everything because I know a lot of you have ordered this book, as you should. This is one of those books, as I said in Monday's show, that you're going to have on your bedside table probably forever. There's just the text, the images, the combination of paintings and the rugs. It's just such a pleasure to look at it, and it's a beautiful book to hold. It's a beautiful matte finish, very high quality book. It feels great, and it's not an oversized book, right? it's like it's big, but it's not ridiculous. I feel like all books should be this size. Honestly, it feels just right. It's like the Three Bears, right? This one is just right. It is a pleasure to have and to hold. And yeah, I know a lot of you have ordered it. And so I don't want to show you, I'm not showing you everything. That wouldn't be fair to the book. I want the book to sell, and I want to show you enough that you go, ooh, oh, because it is that good. You're going to say that every time you open the book up. So let's come back over here and let's see what's next. Come back to the slideshow. I added some bits and pieces from the slideshow. Okay, we saw this. I think this was our last slide. Remember the two cats and the fire? So when I said fire, I thought like fireplace, but no, fire like it's the stove, like an Aga stove, like one of those big old metal stoves with a giant teapot on it. Now, these cats are a quite old motif, right? We've seen cats like this before. It's a motif that carries from, rug generation to rug generation, but it also really echoes sculpture and decorative, like trinkets of the time. So I'm not exactly sure where the inspiration came, but I can tell you in looking at this book and spending time with this book, I can tell you that this motif is done several times. So we see different versions of this motif, which is fun, isn't it? Pretty much the same thing, but a little different each time. And if you're getting your copy of this book soon, because it comes on Amazon really fast, then you will love going through it and going, oh, look at that. It's the two cats in the fire again. It is such a charming and eternal, very relatable view, isn't it? Now, when I saw this, it's almost stopped my heart because this is so different. This is so accessible, relatable. So Jovan wrote for the text on this image here, Ben Nicholson made, so Ben Nicholson, like Winifred's husband, designed this one. And it was made, so hooked, by Mary Bewick. Bewick. I sound like I'm lisping, Bewick. Could that be right? Because there's no R. Bewick. Again, Bewick. Sorry, I'm struggling with that because it doesn't look like Barrick. But Mary is one of the women who hooked for the Nicholsons. So both Ben and Winifred designed, and there was like a stable of women, local women, who did the hooking. And this is a side story that is well described in the book and well illustrated in the book. Who are the different women who did the different hooking? Because looking at their faces, looking at their work, that is its own, that is like a sideline, right? A parallel train track of joy. Just looking at the style of each respective woman and knowing, okay, that does look like her work instead of her work, even though Winifred or Ben is designing. Just interesting. So Jovan writes of this page, as well as appreciating naive art and wanting to get back to basics, Ben Nicholson was also open to people from all walks of life, regardless of their background. Winifred describes how, when they were canvassing for her father in Derby, Ben found a railwayman's family that he liked and used to stay with them. Later, when the collector Helen Sutherland came to lunch at Bankstead, Ben was appalled that her chauffeur was expected to remain in the car and invited him to join their lunch together. Ben also delighted in the Cumbrian landscape, painting more than 20 landscapes around Bankshead, as well as making the Cumberland cottage and a model of Brampton Junction for his son Jake to play with. How fun. There's so much family detail in this. And I just love knowing and thinking about how Ben also designed, and in this case, again, Mary hooked, but Ben designed this rug. And you can see the design, and this is a design that repeats in this book as well. Now, we see a lot of geometrics or checkerboard formats in early 20th century rug hooking in the United States, but they are typically geometrics, and in every other square you get like a flower, right? We're all familiar with that sort of prototype. This is so different, and it's like, why not? Why haven't we historically seen more of this? I mean, really, it's crazy. It's so smart doing the checkerboard and then the various animals, right? Whether they're friend animals or they're imaginary animals or alphabet animals, or it is just so charming, such a lot of fun. Essentially a hit or miss style piece, but so much storytelling going on here. And you can imagine any children around would absolutely love this piece, right? It is so charming. I'm wondering if I put, yes, I did. So there was a reference earlier on in the book on Monday's episode about the white chair, about dreaming in the white chair. There was a foreword, if you remember. Hold on one second. Let me get this right. By Rachel Matthews. And I think that's when she describes sitting in this white chair and just being part of the Nicholson world and the creativity. And then just hearing about how Ben was just such a good person. Like he was, a good person. He understood that it was not appropriate or kind to have a chauffeur sitting out in a car like a second-class citizen when everyone else was inside eating. I mean, it feels good to look at pictures of the family, pictures of the house. It's absolutely beautiful. But this picture is especially exciting to look at because you see the rug that we were just looking at is on the floor here, and it looks like there's a pet on the rug. So the rug is being enjoyed. And in front of the fireplace, right, that's got like some cooking components to it, and a chair on each side, a bookshelf, some built-in shelves, beautiful art on the wall, right, very simple. Moment in time, lovely old house, the flagstone floor. I mean, talk about cozy, talk about quintessential British, right? Just wait for that door to open up, or that might be a closet actually, and Miss Marple walk in, right? Absolutely beautiful. But there the rug is being used, and that is one of the things that I love about this book is, and again, I'm not showing you everything, but there's pictures. I'm seeing children and chickens, and it makes sense to see the rug with all of the animals because you're thinking very rural setting, right? These are animals that were there, that were observed, and that were friends. So I skipped over quite a bit as I look through because I know you're going to enjoy reading this yourself. And I'm skipping over some rugs too, because for the same reason. I hope that you will support the book and the author, and order the book and enjoy the book. And I feel so confident that you will. I'm skipping over large parts, and we are looking at a lot of stuff as well. But there's so much more there for you. One of the things that this book does is talk about the history of hooking in the UK. And as I touched on in Monday's episode, it is the same in that hooking happens around the same time, hooking. But rag rugs are earlier in the UK. They are earlier. And when we say rag rugs, we are probably talking about what we would call proddy, what they would call proggy rugs. Same thing, pushing through, right, with the tool that pushes through rather than pulls up. And hooking will come a little bit later in the 19th century. But rag rugs are, for the most part, proddy rugs. And there's also like standing type rugs, caterpillar rugs, any kind of sewn rug you can name would have been there too. But hooking comes later, as it does in the US as well. And there is a nice history of rag rug making built into this book. And that part I'm also leaving for you to enjoy, because I have covered a little bit about areas in the UK where rag rug making was the most sort of prominent culturally. And the conversation is so good, and it's written in this case by Jovan. So I will leave that part knowing that you will enjoy it immensely. It's such a flavor of local history as I go through this book, where he's so thorough about covering rugs and showing you different rugs other than Winifred's rugs and Ben's rug designs. He's showing you Proddy and Proddy mat. Okay, actually I have to show you this picture because this is really cool. I'm going to show you the same pattern, and on one of the rugs it's Proddy, meaning it's pushed through. So it's pushed through pieces that are cut on the other side. So it's very sort of pixelated and has a much sort of rougher look to it, as opposed to a rug that is hooked. They're both at the Beamish Museum, and the Beamish Museum published a book on rug hooking too. We covered that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and that is another wonderful book, right? Specifically on the tradition of British rag rug making, which is different. So let me show you these two pictures. We might have seen these in the Beamish book, I'm not sure, because they are at the museum, and there's only so much. Of course, this is the Proddy one, and this is the hooked one. So proggy, hooky, but you can see it's the same pattern, but One of them, the hooked one, there is some directional hooking. There are horizontal striations of color. And the other one is much more static looking. It's much more pixelated because that's the Prati one. But it is the same design, right? So once you have the pattern, if you're a pattern buyer, then, ooh, something just caught my eye. Then you do it whatever way you feel best doing it, right? And with a pattern that simple, right? It's not an elaborate pattern. You could do it in many different ways. Prati is higher relief, so you don't get as much detail with Prati. That's an understatement. So you have to be careful with Prati, because if you make a piece that you plan to do the Prati technique to complete the piece, and it has any kind of fineness to it, or small areas that really need to pop, it's not the right technique to choose, right? You're going to be better off with hooking and punching, or part this and part that. Um, Sorry, I just have to look at this part. Winifred's interest in rag rugs was rekindled in the late 1960s, as Jake described. And Jake says, a second stage of Winifred's active participation in the craft began when she and I, you know what? I need to go back. Let's go back for a second, because we've been looking at pictures, but I know there was a section where um, I don't know if it was Jovan or if it was another person was talking about how she got involved in. No, we did that, didn't we? We talked about that a little bit. We looked at the pictures from the Isle of Wight. We talked about how she got involved. Yeah, we did. Remember? Yeah, I remember. She went next door to the neighbor. What was the neighbor's name? Was it like Margaret, something like that? She remember they got a little house, and then Winifred went next door to the neighbor, and the neighbor was working on a rug. That was it, wasn't it? Okay, and then what happened in between? I don't want to read the whole book. Um, okay. It might be that she got going with her painting and stuff. Yes, Margaret Warwick was the farmer's wife, right? The neighbor. Let's see. Let me just dig into this just a little bit, just to set ourselves up so we have the ground under us here. The Nicholsons were fully aware of Cubism and what was happening in Paris. They were, like many artists of the time, also fascinated by primitive art. And amongst the books they owned at that time was one about African sculpture. However, the encounter with Mrs. Warwick must have been the first time they witnessed naive art actually being created. Ben later wrote about this being a period of wanting to get right back to the beginning and then take one step forward at a time on a firm basis. Oh, how interesting is that? Just rewind, right, into the first known thing, the first sure thing, and then tread softly and carefully. And I think probably quite deliberately, because the Nicholsons had such a distinctive art style, respectively, that you would want to, right? Once you've been trained and you've been learning art, practicing art, surrounded by artists, you're in the world, you would want to bring it back to the beginning and say, okay, pause, rewind, and then make very deliberate decisions about what you're doing when you make art, right? Because you have at that point gathered so many impressions, ideas, techniques, and training and experience, that you have to, at some point, if you really are an artist, put it all in a crucible, let it burn, and what you have left is really who you are and what you want to be as an artist. And that's a good way of describing it. I like that. I like that. It was no surprise then that the Nicholsons placed Margaret Warwick's two cats by a fire in front of the fireplace in their bedroom, which had a window overlooking the Warwicks' farm. Oh, God, is that nice or what? A corner of the rug was easily recognizable by the rosettes. Appears in one of Ben's drawings. Oh, interesting. Oh, how fun is that? Um, Ben commissioned Mary I'm going to say Bewick, just to avoid my terrible pronunciation. Um, Margaret Warwick's daughter. Okay, so Mary is Margaret's daughter, to make animal squares. That was the one we were just looking at. To his design. So he designed it, and Mary hooks it. Crucially, the encounter with naive art predates Ben and Winifred Nicholson's meeting with the self-taught marine painter Alfred Wallace in St. Ives, Cornwall, 1928. I don't know that artist, Alfred Wallace. I'm going to have to check him out. Let me write that down. Alfred Wallace. Be curious. And he's Cornwall. Cornwall is the one part of England that I am dying to go. I have never been. I've been to so much of it when I lived over there and traveled and stuff, and I have never been to Cornwall. I have always wanted to go do that whole Daphne du Maurier thing, Jamaica Inn, and oh God, and now Agatha Christie, English Riviera. What a beautiful part of the world that must be. All right, so that brings us to the squares were all neutral in colors, in the colors that Ben preferred. We're talking about the animal squares, except for the center square, which was made from tartan rags. Oh, we got to go back there. Let's get back. Hang on. Let's get back here. Okay, I see. The center one is made in tartan, so plaid. The choice of animals were left to Mary. Ooh, how fun is that? She selected the sorts of animals found on their farm. Okay, because she's the farmer, right? She's the farmer's wife. A brown horse, a black collie dog, a turkey, a black cat, a horned ram, a black hen, a white duck, and a multicolored cock. Like many of Mary's rugs, at 67 inches, that's 170 centimeters wide, it was large, suggesting a great confidence and assuredness in her creativity. Even so, she was influenced by Ben. After Ben's commission, Mary abandoned the idea of borders with traditional motifs, as in her mother's Two Cats by the Fire. Ooh, interesting. That has a simple border. Let's look at that one more time, because this is Mary's hooking and this is Mary's hooking. And yes, this is a big border. This is a much more primitive rug. And even though this is done in a primitive style and she was able to choose the animals, right? It's interesting she did not want to do a border. It turned out to be a large rug. So she probably felt like good enough, right? And that all of the storytelling was happening in the center. Oh, Carol, good to see you in Northford. Yeah, there's no need when you have a large rug like this with this much storytelling. This is 8 animals. You don't need a big border, do you? I mean, each person to his own taste, but interesting. So, let's see. I want to get to the part where, let's come back over here. I want to talk about, so there was obviously a break where they were doing other kinds of work. And so the second stage of Winifred's active participation in rug making began when she and this is Jake talking, I think Jake must be the son. She and I went to a Liberal Party assembly in Scarborough in the 1960s. I'm doing a show, Ted. Does it ever fail? Have I ever gotten through one show on a Friday without my children shouting my name from another floor of the house? Scarborough in the 1960s. One evening, Nancy Powell, she was the Liberal agent for Penrith and the border, invited us to a special meeting with her in the hotel lounge. She had assumed this would be about some Liberal strategy. This was not the case. Nancy felt that the Cumbrian country folk had the traditional skills for making rag rugs, but had lost their design sense. She thought that Winifred, being an artist, could provide the designs. Wow. Okay, I'm glad that we read that part. Nancy Powell had been a spy in Germany during the Second World War, with cover as a Finnish student, so her opinion carried real authority. Ready-cut Hessian, and that means for us burlap, was available with pre-printed designs, and it is not difficult to see why Powell, who wove knitted clothes that Dennis Barker described as being brilliant, and Winifred found these commercial patterns unimaginative. Beginning in 1966, Winifred went on to encourage over 180 rugs to be made. That is a significant number. This is the figure given by Winifred and Ben's eldest son, Jake. There we go. Who was actively involved with selling the rugs. And there is a strong possibility the actual number was higher. Most of the designs were by local makers, with a few designed by Winifred herself as well as her grandchildren and 2 of her grandnieces, Audrey and Dennis Barker. And 3 by Li Yuan Chia, the Chinese artist who had made a bankside farmhouse into the LYC Museum and Gallery. Taken together, those rugs that have survived make an eclectic and colorful group. As a countrywoman, Winifred had a natural empathy with the various rug makers, most of whom were farmers' wives. As her close friend, the poet Kathleen Raine, remarked, she was not far away from the traditional country life about her, a world where women still made beautiful embroidery, quilting, rag rugs of traditional designs, and had an eye for what was well made. I'm going to pause on the reading there because there is so much reading in this book, and it's all so charming and relatable. Isn't it wonderful to know the whole story so far? It just makes me feel so warm and cozy. That they buy this house, and next door, or at least within neighbor shot, is Margaret Warwick, the farmer's wife, who becomes a rug maker. Her daughter Mary as well. And isn't it interesting that it's this woman who's this sort of liberal activist and had been a spy, masquerading as a Finnish student? That in itself is this is a movie right here. This is a movie. That she would have kind of formed this idea of doing something within the community that really resembles like Shedikamp or the Maine mission or the Abenaki rugs, right? Any of these missions where typically a woman would go in, right? Not with Grenfell, but pretty much all the others. A woman would go into an area that was struggling with poverty, to some extent. Maybe that's less of an angle here, but with most missions, that is the main thrust, the whole purpose of the thing. To teach women how to do this craft so they are then able to make rugs and sell rugs, right? And then they're bada bada bing, there's your business, right? Bob's your uncle, here's your money. It's interesting to think that this is how this is in theory works too. The women have it in them to do the rag rugs. They have some experience about how to do them. And the question is, what will the designs be? Because that's where it is, Nancy observes, that's where they're weak, right? They don't know how to do the designing. Interesting. And approaching Winifred to say, well, you're an artist, right? Isn't this the way life should be, really? Like, you're an artist. Can you help with this? Because this is what you do, right? Wouldn't you be willing to help, since help is needed and this is your wheelhouse? If only life worked like that still. But I love the setup of the story. So she does help, and she designs all these rugs, and Ben designs rugs, and they have some rugs designed by the children of the family. And the next part of the book talks about Winifred's makers. So rugs that Winifred designed that other people made. And the first person is Mary. And we've seen two of Mary's rugs. We've seen the cats with the fire, and we've seen the animal squares by Ben. Sorry, let me see. Considering the quality of the animal squares rug that Mary made for Ben in the 1920s, it's not surprising that she was one of the first makers that Winifred approached. Mary was married to Stan Bewick, with whom she had 4 children, one of whom went on to be a designer for Seekers in Newcastle. I think we've talked about that operation too. Originally, the Bewick's farm at Stockerstead, a remote farm in the Bewcastle area. This must be like a regional thing, right? The BE. In a house her niece, Kath Blundell, described as needing to go through 12 gates to reach. From the 1940s, the Bewicks lived at the Wintershields farm. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just skimming over it. So at the farm, we know that with Ben's rug, he left it up to Mary to decide like what animals to plug into the checkerboard, and she did. And she did a beautiful job as well. Again, I'm not showing you all of the rugs. I'm looking at a beautiful long horned ram of some sort that is absolutely beautiful. It is worth buying the book for in and of itself. I love how in this book Jovan is doing stuff like, and I will show you the rug closer up, showing one of Winifred's paintings, and then showing like this is black cows, and then this is a black cow, And I mean, yeah, that's something you can only get in this book. Like, this is just fantastic thinking about. This is called Galloway Cattle, the painting. And then she designs a rug that looks like this. Nope, sorry, like this. So this is one that Mary hooked, Galloway Bull. This was done in the 1960s. It's in a private collection. Um, so one of the things about this book that just isn't there with so many books that not many rug cooking books come out, right? So that in itself, it's a very good reason to order this one because you will love it. And there's not a lot of rug books that come out, right? We need to really support the genre. But in no other book will you find a situation where you're seeing the work of artists of such renown, right? The Nicholsons are such famous artists. Um, I mean, I remember living in England when I was a student and not being really tuned into much, but I knew those names just from going out to galleries and museums and just, being alive. So it's so interesting to see pairings of paintings with rug designs. And this is such a beauty. And again, Hooked by Mary, it's got, sorry, I woke up so early and it has been a nonstop day for me. You can see the solidness, the weight of this animal, right? Such a beautiful animal, such a soft, really endearing little face, isn't it? Mary was fantastic. I mean, let's hear it for Mary. Hey, Susan, great to see you. Oh, you love cows. There are lots of cows here, right? Because this is like farming country. Mary killed it with the colors, didn't she? I mean, there's a lot of brown, as there would be because of clothing, and the black is great. It does seem like she'd made some color changes or a little bit of color fading, and that really adds to the beauty of this piece. Little bits of green and some flowers on the ground. The way the green and the pinks climb up the mountainsides, wow. And the really sort of stout shape of this bowl. It is just gorgeous. I mean, this is such proper art. It is just gorgeous. To also notice, remember how Mary wanted to stop doing elaborate borders? Notice how she does this little sort of pinstripe border with a shot of blue around the edge, like one row, and then it looks like maybe 3 rows of brownish gray, and then maybe 3 rows of tomato red. This piece is 101 by 152 centimeters. Can't do that calculation in my head, but it's another big rug, isn't it? A little bit of the tomato red and then another little bit of the brownish gray. It is just extraordinary. It has a hit or miss quality because it's streaky, right? Because of the color changes. Oh God, it's such a perfect piece, isn't it? I'm not that fond of cows, I have to say. Big animals always scare me a little bit. I love their sweet faces, and I know that they're so gentle. Sadly, I've never lived on a farm, and I would so love to. But what a beautiful character this is, and what a beautiful landscape. Just the shape of the hills in the distance over the bull's back. The 2 ears, like making little peaks, and then the shape of the distant mountain that's the light brown color, making kind of similar shapes. Whether that's part of the landscape or not, I don't know. But it's very cleverly done, right? The design is very cleverly done. And where we know that the design is Winifred, but the hooking is Mary. And in the rugs that you're seeing in this book and on these shows, the everything is in copyright. Yeah, Melanie, everything is, even the early stuff, because they don't start until the 1930s. No, actually, I'm wrong. No, the 1930s. We're seeing some pieces by Margaret, the neighbor, Margaret Warwick, from the 1920s. 1920 stuff is Ben's rug is 1925, but these rugs are in private collections and I think local museums, so they would be under copyright still. And of course, the family is, I'm sure, maintaining copyright for stuff like this. It sounds like Jovan knows where all of these pieces are. So these would not be public domain pieces. But yeah, they start a little bit earlier than I thought. The Animal Squares is 1925. Of course, the idea of doing a checkerboard with alternating animals is not under copyright, but doing it exactly the same way would be. And these animals would be, because these are both of them. I'm sorry, I didn't show you the last one. That one's for you when you get the book. But this is a 1960s piece. So everything 1930 and below, earlier right now, is in the public domain unless it's owned by someone else, right? And that is always the thing that you need to find out if stuff is in a private collection. It's funny because we touched on this a little bit. Remember when I went to see the Mary Tooley Parker exhibit? It was like in some remote part of New York State, like it was called the Wasaic Fall. I guess the town was Wasaic Falls. I've never been there before. It was beautiful there. Talk about remote, man. Whoa. Beautiful exhibit. But that was one of the things that came up, because some of the rugs that she made that are one of a kind are owned by other people. And then it becomes a copyright problem because she doesn't own the image anymore, right? She just made it, but it belongs to someone else. So interesting. It depends on how you work out your contracts and stuff, right? If you buy one of my patterns, obviously it would be under copyright because I just made it. Hopefully I have a good long life, knock on wood. And there's lots more coming. And I don't know if I'll ever outrun copyright date because I'm not young. But copyright works differently from country to country, and it changes. So you always have to check on what you're doing if you're doing something commercial, because it does change, and it changes often. It changes remarkably often, which is crazy, I know. But the thing about these pieces that I think make them so compelling, I think, wait a minute, I want to see if I have this one as well. No, let me show you this cover of the book. Right. Same kind of feel, right? Mary did this one too, Sheep, also the 1950s. Let me show you, it's a much bigger piece, right there. So that's part of the cover design. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. There is something about the combination of, hairbrush down as my placeholder. There's something about the combination of Winifred's line drawing and Mary's imagination that this is like the perfect storm of beauty right here. I mean, these pieces, this one also, the one with the sheep that's on the front cover, features a lot of that tomatoey red color. It's like an orangey red, like tomato soup. And the animals are very, using this as an example again, are very solid and a little bit stylized, but really also descriptive. And the background of these pieces, I mean, it at first glance reminds me of Hit or Miss, but just look at it for a second and it gives you such a sense of place, right? I mean, if you've been in England and you've seen the countryside, of course it's vastly different from region to region, but this is a super familiar landscape. Just that little glimpse that you're seeing in the sky and on the ground, that is so right on. It's crazy. I mean, it's so well done. And as we saw with that earlier piece that was a commercial pattern from the Beamish Museum, the same pattern, geometric, that was done, one was done in Pradi, one was done hooked. It just goes to show a different maker from one project to the next, the piece comes out vastly different. And vive la différence, right? Because, I mean, each one of us taking on the same line drawing is going to make something tremendously different. Isn't that the most exciting thing, right? Judy says there's something so pleasing about the huge field of off-white as the sheep's with the sheep's body against the lively background. I know it. There is something so pleasing about that. It's like such a character, right? Such a character. So charming, right? I'm picturing being in a rental car and driving through villages and seeing animals like this. It's for me a little bit exotic because I don't see these animals all the time. I got to go somewhere else to see them. But just that gentleness of the landscape, just the color changing, the slopes, the way that the colors are picked out, and the busyness, the quiet, I know this is like an oxymoron, the quiet busyness of the background against, as Judy says, that white field that is the body. It reminds me of the shape, reminds me of the game that the Impressionist artists used to play at the Florence Griswold Museum, right? It used to be the Florence Griswold house where the most famous American Impressionists went in the late 19th, very late 19th, like Henry Ward Ranger during the tonalist movement, and then mostly in the early 20th century when Impressionism was becoming a thing. And then you have people like Child Tassan who go and, you know, the ultimate American Impressionist. But they had this game that they would play in the evenings. I'll show you how it went, where you would take a piece of paper and you would draw something like a squiggle. You would draw something like this, like just like that. Or maybe it had two squiggles on it, right? And you would pass it to the next person, and they were all artists. And they would turn that drawing into something like you can't imagine. Like I couldn't play this game. These were incredible drawings, and that's what this reminds me of. Just like a little line, and it becomes this. And as a line drawing, it would be a very simple line drawing, right? But then Mary gets a hold of it over at the farm, and then she does all this stuff. And my God, right? So there's just so much beauty, this quiet beauty in thinking about the life between the little village houses and the farms and the interactions between people. That Jovan uses the word empathy. Just this, trying to think of the word, sympathique, the rapport, like the great rapport between people who live in the same place and care about each other. Right, there's a lot to be said for that. Great art comes out of that combo for sure. Now I'm going to move forward to the next artist who did hooking to make these rugs. And this is Janet Heap, Heap. And Jovan, I'm reading Jovan's text. He says, it was natural for Winifred to turn to Janet, the Warwick's other daughter. Janet had worked for Winifred as a nanny, looking after her children from 1924 to 1932, even accompanying Winifred and her family to Cornwall in 1928 and 1932. She only stopped working for Winifred because after Ben left, Winifred considered moving to America. Mr. Warwick put his foot down. It was too far away. Not long after, when John Heap was laboring on a local farm, his motorbike broke down outside Bankshead. Janet literally picked him up, and soon after they were married in the Carlisle Methodist Church. Oh, God, how great is that? And went to farm at Holcombe Brook near Ramsbottom in Lancashire. Judging by the photographs of Janet and Winifred's children, she seems very relaxed and enjoying her time with them. Janet played a large part in Winifred's family life, and it is not surprising that Winifred painted a number of portraits of Janet and Jake together. Oh, God, how great is that? So this is Janet, and you can actually see a photograph of her face. Isn't that great? They seem to be picking berries and sharing them. Janet with Jake and Kate picking blackberries. And this is 1932. This is in the Tate archive. And of course, just as you would expect, then there's a beautiful painting that I will leave for you to discover that Winifred did of Janet and Jacob reading. So it's just wonderful seeing photographs, rugs, and paintings that all fit the same story, right? This is just a beautiful book. So let's look at a rug that Janet hooked. So Janet hooked this piece that is called Tiger, and this was done in the early 1960s. This is 77 by 130 centimeters, and this is in a private collection. I'm just going to read a little text in a second, but the styles are going to be different from one maker to the next. Of course they are, right? Of course they are. By the time Janet was making rugs for Winifred, the Heaps were no longer farming, and John was working for the Ministry of Agriculture. Like many at that time, the Heaps farm had mixed dairy and beef with horses. Tractors had not yet appeared, pigs, an orchard, and currant fruit bushes. They bred rabbits, chickens, and goats. Nevertheless, oh, you know what? I'm going to stop there because there's another rug coming up, and I'm not going to show you the other rug. I want to show you Tiger because I want to leave lots of rugs for you to discover. Now, Tiger is done in a different style because Janet is the maker on this one, and not Mary this time. And Tiger pulls from the long tradition in rug hooking of using a checkerboard border. And in this case, with hit or miss fills, right? The stripes are hit or miss style. And in the center, very clever, is the image of the tiger with the tail breaking the border. So we've seen a lot of tiger rugs traditionally in 19th century rug hooking, but this is certainly a very different one. And this just makes me think, I don't know my animals and continents too well, but I'm thinking tigers, Africa go together well. And we know that the Nicholsons were very interested in Africa and tribal art and probably Aboriginal art and eventually what would become known as naive or folk art. But in the meantime, it looks like this image could have been pulled from a different source, possibly from a photograph, possibly from Japanese art, right? The face has that a bit of a Japanese woodcut feel with the nose looking the way it does. It doesn't say what the source is, but it's interesting to speculate. So this piece is done very smartly in blues and oranges, right? Van Gogh's palette. Let me see if I can find something specifically on this one. Hold on one second. I'm just looking to see if I can find tiger. Let's see. Okay. They dyed material in the washing machine or dolly tub, sourced materials, and kept spare sacks of them in the loft. There was no television when the Heaps were children, and the rug took up the dining. Okay, so they're talking about doing the hooking together, the dining room in the winter. It was put away for Christmas and New Year, but otherwise kept out until finished. The whole family participated. Oh, interesting. The tartan comes from a pinafore dress of mine. This is Kath Blundell speaking, I think, years later. The tartan comes from a pinafore dress of mine, the yellow from a skirt of my mother's, and the dark color from my father's suit. This is a moving experience. She fondly remembers making rugs and recalls it as being a very enjoyable activity. That's so interesting to picture the whole family kind of working on it. And having it just out until a rug was done. It's just out until it's finished and ready to go. Tiger is also large, 77 by 130 centimeters. I don't know if I said that. But this is a curious one because it does have the heavy border, so this isn't something that Mary would have liked to have done. It does have an exotic animal in it, which could have been pulled culturally from quite a few places. I'm leaning toward Japanese now because of the expression in the face and the eyes, right? Kind of that frown in the mouth, and the eyes look a little angry with just the dot of color, But I love the tail breaking the border, and there's such careful control of color in the body of the piece, in the motif of the piece, and it's such a joy to travel with your eyes around the border and to see all of these hit or miss slashes of color, and to think about them being a tartan pinafore dress or mother's dark skirt or father's suit. It's just interesting to think about that part of it and picture the family cutting up strips and getting this thing done. And there are other beauties. There's another Galloway bull that Janet did that could not be any more different than the one you saw. So when you see them, when you get your book and you see them together, you're going to say, wow, it's probably the same pattern, but they could not be more different. Interesting, isn't it? So let me see where we're going to go to next. Okay, I'm going to hold on that for just a second. We're moving to the next maker. And I love the research in this book, right? I love the thoroughness. Jovan has really recorded, right, this moment in time. And what a gift, right? Because now we can share it, right? We can read it and share it and talk about these different makers and their neighbors. And it's so charming and heartwarming to be able to go from, in my mind, one farm to the next and picture the makers of all of these designs, and how exciting it must have been, to be talking to Winifred or Ben and say, oh, you have another design. Okay, great. Well, tell me the idea, or let me see the drawing, and then for them to make the thing. It must have been such a lot of fun. Florence Williams is another one of the makers, and Jovan writes, Florence Williams was the most prolific of Winifred's makers. According to the list, she made 58 rugs for Winifred, and there were more by her in Winifred's own collection. Later, she also made rugs for Dennis and Audrey Barker. a retired postmistress from Warwick Bridge. She lived in a bungalow on the A69 called Burnside. Born in Liverpool in 1893, when she was 12, she worked in a Lancashire cotton mill where she was trained as a weaver and was later able to use her skills at Harris's Mills in Cockermouth. When it looked as if she might be laid off, she took up work as a cook in domestic service, spending some time in Australia. Just before the outbreak of the Second World War, Florence purchased a cottage where she began her rug making. Of her first experiment, she said, "I don't like to remember them. They were dreadful." Williams became the village postmistress while at the same time making the rugs. This is an amazing story. I didn't realize that the whole community was tied up like this, because we have had other stories like this, just a handful, like out of the world. It's just a handful of stories like this where the whole community is working on something together, right? Everyone's like, "How's your rug going? Any new designs?" So the rug I was showing you was just so different. Witch on a Broomstick, 1970. This is 91 by 100 centimeters in a private collection. And it says, "Note the use of embroidery on the witch's face and hands." And hand. I don't see it on the hand, I have to say, but I do see it on the boots as well. But you can see the embroidery, right? So it is hooked, but there are some stitches. Let me make it a little bit bigger. You know what? Let me just show it to you on the monitor. It might even be better because these pages are not shiny. Let me see if we can get this in focus. Hang on. We always get there in the end. There we go. And there's a little cat on the broomstick. The whole background is hit or miss. Oh, there's a teapot on the broomstick. How funny is that? What a great piece. Look at the size of that hat. Isn't that fantastic? And you see the little stitches on the boots? I mean, isn't that fantastic? All that hit or miss background. And the two silhouettes in black. That bright red, kind of the tomato red again. I wonder what there was that allowed so many people to have this very specific shade of red. Isn't that curious? Because if you look at the hit or miss background as well, there's a lot of red in that too, right? There's a lot of color change, but there's a lot of red. Just absolutely adorable. To think that she did 58 rugs, of the making rug like project to sell, but then Winifred also had some of Florence's rugs. That is interesting. And look at this other one by Winifred. I have to show you this one too. There's a bunch of other ones by Winifred, but I'm just showing you these. Hold on once. Oh, that's me. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. I didn't mean to show you that one yet. This is the one I meant to show you. Sorry about that. I'll go back to 29. Let me write that down. I'll go back to 29. This one is by Florence Williams as well. It's called Scarecrow. This is 72 by 52 centimeters, also 1970s private collection. Note, again, the use of embroidery in the scarecrow's face. I want to show you this on the monitor as well. Yeah, let me just hold it up for you. I feel like, I took pictures of books of the book in the morning, but I feel like this is even better for us, as long as we can get it to go into focus. I had to take pictures in the early morning because I had to go out and I had a busy day, and I felt like I didn't have the best sun then. Let's come even closer. Come on. What I like about these two by Florence is, how much I love autumn, and this one's really playing me, isn't it? Is it doing it a little bit? Not really, huh? One more try. I'm stubborn. Hold on. There we go. I really wanted you to see it because I wanted you to see the stitches. They look like they're stitches in the face. I don't know about on the bird. But look at this crazy hit or miss. Another kind of Halloween autumn feeling piece in this scarecrow. And I just love seeing those stitches. Looks like there's some stitches in the pants maybe. Maybe. I think so. I mean, that's just, that's such a good touch. I'm just so in love with these. And I love the little bird kind of nuzzling up to the scarecrow. Such a happy scarecrow. God, isn't that a beautiful piece? I just love it. I just love the feel. So different makers had, different likes and different interests, and Florence obviously loved to do these autumnal themes, and the Halloween theme. I mean, I would consider this a Halloween theme too, but just beautiful. And Florence did it. I don't want to show you. Sorry, I don't want to show you that one. Florence did a thing in the background with her hit and miss where it was very static, but she does a lot with high energy colors in the background. She's got like a little rose over here in a square, but the amount, like the range of color in her hit or miss background is very different than the other makers. The backgrounds are handled very differently. So while Winifred is designing rugs, and Ben and the other people we've named in the family, the makers are making each one look so different, right? Like really so different. So interesting. So, and then there's a maker called, and I'm not gonna show you any, by Mrs. Davidson, also a cottager, local, where Davidson is a common name. I'm going to leave that section so you can discover her pieces. She's got a couple of animal pieces in here too that are just beautiful. And then there's a whole section on other makers. So it's very well recorded. And since people are treated as people, which is always nice and not as much of a given as one would think in any day and age, since people were treated so well, everyone knows each other, knows the makers, knows the kids. Everyone mixes and mingles. It's a community thing. So it's wonderful that it has been recorded so nicely. Who are the makers, right? Those are the main makers, and then there's lots of other makers. There were 12 other makers who worked mostly for Winifred, and they each made a few rugs. So let me see. I have more stuff to show you. I'm not going to forget we need to go back to the other one as well. So 12 more makers on top of the ones who we know. And interesting. Hold on. Let me see. I want to show you. I want to go back to the one we skipped over by accident. This one has a Christmas theme, but this is called Christmas Tree. This is an unknown maker, and this is in a private collection. It's made in the 60s. You can see it was definitely used on the floor because it is quite roughed up around the edges. I'm hoping it's really carefully mounted. There's a lot of, oh, I wonder if those are crackers. Oh no, those are candles on the tree. Yep, there's very large candles on the tree. This must be based on a children's drawing, right? I love the hit or miss quality on the inside of the rug. And I love the oversized candles. They remind me of the German candles. You know, my German brother-in-law always wants to put real candles on the tree. It's like, oh my God, let's not. Just, danger, 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 Red Ranger. So I just love this piece. I just love the repetition of the kids. I love the quality of it. It reminds me of like a UNICEF stamp kind of a thing. I think it's so charming, and I love to see the way that hit or miss has mellowed and settled. I love all the colors in the tree trunk too. Can you make out? It's quite a few colors, including like maybe some color changing browns with lots of red flecks. Sorry, I'm struggling. I'm perfectly happy. I'm just my lack of sleep is catching up with me, but I'm not stopping. I love this conversation. So there's a whole section of rugs, and I'm skipping over tons, where you would say, "Wow, that's a lovely rug," but it is not known who has made it. Just that it is one of the rugs that Winifred or Ben designed, or one of the family members designed. And then there's a whole bunch that are designed by grandchildren and great nieces. So Winifred's Designers is the next chapter of the book. This is starting on page 66. And oh, how fun. I'm going to show you one in a minute that Jovan designed. How fun is that? It's called Tractor and Hay Cart. And I'll show you that in just a minute. Looks like Jovan designed a few of them. How fun. They are really beautiful as well. I'm only going to show you one that he designed so that you have things to look forward to. But this chapter talks about Winifred's designers, the grandchildren and the great nieces. The majority of the rugs were designed by the makers, but a significant number by other people. In particular, Winifred encouraged her grandchildren, as well as some of her great nieces, who were given 1 pound, 1 pound for each design. I vividly recall being given a large piece of Hessian and a marker pen, and drawing what interested me at the time, usually a Cumbrian farm subject. I'm sorry, such as farmyard, which I won't show you, but I will show you the other one. My brother David, 2 years older than me, designed Saturn, made by Mrs. Hall, Batman and Robin. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of those too. Let me show you the one called Tractor and Hay Cart that is designed by Jovan, who is the author of this book, if you're joining us late. Hope I'm on the right. Okay, that was Scarecrow. Oh, these are some tools. I skipped over this. I shouldn't have. These are some tools that belong to Emma Gass. And I think Emma is another one of the makers that's mentioned in the other makers chapter that did like a handful of rugs. But you see, she had some beautiful tools. She has got going left to right a hook, right, a very pointy hook too. That looks a lot like a Hartman hook looks today with that huge shaft. A proddy tool, a hook, a proddy tool, a hook, and a proddy tool. So she's using both. And these are very nice looking tools as well. So these belong to Emma Gass, who is one of the other makers, not one of the primary makers. This is the piece designed by a young Jovan Nicholson, 1967, that is called Tractor and Hay Cart. This piece was hooked by Mrs. Hall. So she is one of the other makers. Absolutely beautiful. Hay cart and tractor. God, is that fun. So on the left, we see the tractor with a little plume of smoke coming out of the pipe, whatever you call the pipe. And then the hay behind it, like all these bales of hay. It is such a cubist masterpiece. This piece is absolutely amazing. I mean, this is amazing. I love the texture. It looks so modernist. It is super simplistic, but everything you need to know is present here. And I love the breakdown of the background too, like the hit or miss feels, right? There's color shift and movement in the feels. There's places where different colors. This would have been part of Mrs. Hall's world. She changes to different colors, like on the bottom left, fairly erratically. I'm not sure whether the pink and blue shades of Swatch watches to come, like, 20 years later, that electric coloration of the tractor. I'm not sure if that's part of the drawing, but I'm guessing it might be. And there's a patch of green on the right that is also really charming. Just lovely textures, very contemporary piece, classic folk art piece, right? It's absolutely beautiful design. Makes perfect sense to me looking at it too. Now this is Batman and Robin. So this was designed by Jovan's brother David. Batman and Robin here. And this was made by Florence Williams. So remember, Florence Williams did the 2 Halloween ones that we looked at. This was done in 1968, also in a private collection. Isn't that funny? Pow! And maybe that's a sock. Maybe someone's getting socked. It looks like a sock monkey is getting socked. Something's going down. It ain't good, is it? But the rug is great. Classic piece of storytelling and folk art. Oh, Denise. Oh, good evening. Great to see you. You love the piece with the pink and the blue. Oh, I wonder which piece that was. With the hay cart. Yep. So good. It's just a reminder that kids, there's a lot more images by kids. So you hear me flipping pages because I'm skipping. But this is another one that's done by David Nicholson, that was designed by David Nicholson and also hooked by Florence Williams. And this one is called Footballer and done in the 1960s, unknown size, and it's in a private collection. So someone's had this for a while, and I hope it's safe because it's remarkable. I mean, can you see the background of this piece? Like it is, I'm going to make this just a little bit larger for you. I think the photo is okay. It's just a little bit too small. Yeah, Wendy says Batman looks like my grandkids' chalk drawings. Yep, let's look at that one more time. I think that's a great point. It really does, doesn't it? It really does. It's got the graphic sort of imprint to it. And it's like the storytelling, right? This is a fight scene. So that would be appealing for kids, right? A fight scene would be dramatic and appealing. And the good guys, you can be assured, are going to win, right? And the car, right, is a real look at the 60s, right? Just the shape of the car over on the right. But just the emphasis on the dialogue makes me think of comic books, right? And comic books would have been a very big thing back then. And, they had these, exclamations, right? All these speech bubbles with the action that was happening. That would have been really appealing for a child. And I was just saying, sometimes we underestimate what kids do because it's very simple. And kids do folk art, right? They are untrained. They are the folk. They do the folk art. This is just, I do too, Wendy. I love kids' art. There's very few pictures. My kids do a lot of stuff, and I've used a lot of it in ribbon candy hooking because I think it's remarkably good. I really do. Like when I look at this picture that David Nicholson did, footballer. Sorry, 1960s era. I mean, look at the body on this. Like, look at the body. So the left arm is a little bit long. That definitely adds to the charm. There's something asymmetrical, right? Off center, off kilter about this figure. While the figure seems to be standing rather solidly on the ground, there's a lot of motion happening here. Part of that is due to the really electric colored, citrus colored hit or miss background, that beautiful yellow and green grass. But that right leg, right, that for us looking at it is on the left-hand side, that's kind of up in the air, going to give a kick, just is, I'm not a sports person by any stretch of the imagination, but I have seen this game being played, right, football, soccer, and people move like this, right? They twist their legs, turn their legs to get the best shot, just in an instant. The body language is unbelievable. It is so right on. Even just the shape of the shorts, right? Not just making a line across, but showing the sort of, pardon me, but crotch line with the two edges of the shorts, right? The shape is absolutely correct. And the socks, the laces, all of this is absolutely correct. It's a very simple composition that is the figure. It's the footballer. But it is a really dynamic piece. This piece is colossal. I mean, this is an incredible piece. It is such an amazing example of naive art, of folk art. In a country where, and you know how much I love the Brits. Sylvain, great to see you. Would be nice to hook comic book images. Absolutely. A lot of them are in the public domain as well, right? A lot of them are. I know last year Felix the Cat came out. A lot of people, and Steamboat Mickey came out. A lot of characters have come out of copyright, out of public domain. And there's nothing that can be done about it at a certain year. So, so we see some of them come out here and there. But of course, if you're making something for yourself, then you make what you want, of course. It's just when you make commercial patterns, there's different rules. But the footballer is so remarkable to me because, I mean, I loved living in England, and I definitely could have stayed in England. There's no doubt about that. I love New England the most, but I loved living in England. And one thing I will say that surprised me about living there was for a country of people who are so civilized and classy and have such just sort of innate humor, such a great sense of humor, just well-read, polished people. Man, they went out of their minds when there was a sports game on TV. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before working in a pub. I mean, people went from polite and eating prawn crisps to breaking chairs over each other's heads, all in the course of 10 seconds when something happens on the screen. And it was like, wow, football was a thing, soccer, right, was a serious thing. So imagine being the person who owns this hook drug, right, from the 1960s, from, designed by David Nicholson, but of the Winifred Nicholson camp, of a footballer. Like, what a desirable subject this must be. How many people in England want a naive piece of art of someone playing football? I'm sorry, soccer. I would think everybody. I would think 99% of the population. It's a beautiful image, and it's so well done. It's just a remarkable piece. Now I'm going to skip over a bunch of stuff, and it's all beautiful. And what am I looking at just to sort of tempt you? I'm looking at pages that show me Winifred's paintings on one side, and then the same subject as a hooked rug. Not the same composition, but the same subject on the other side. I was just looking at butterflies. So I have these out of sequence. Hang on just a second. I'm going to come to, I put them out of sequence by accident. Let's do this according to the slideshow. That makes the most sense. So what you're looking at here is a postcard of a 6th, that's the number 6, 6th century mosaic in the Basilica of San Vitale in Ravenna, that's Italy, sent by a friend to Winifred. So here's a postcard that somebody sent to Winifred from Ravenna in Italy, looking at these extraordinary mosaics. And inspiration is everywhere, isn't it? And this is the rug that came out of it. Now, I know we've looked at this rug before because this was a heart stopper for me. This was an absolute heart stopper for me. This is one of my favorite rugs of all time. Of all time. This rug just kills me. So Winifred designed this one, and it was made by Florence Williams, right? So Florence is a very popular maker, of Winifred's designs. It's called Peacock. It was done in December of 1972. That's the year I was born. Maybe that's part of the magical reason I love this rug so much. This is at the Thule House Museum and Art Gallery Trust in Carlisle, and that is where the show is right now. That is where this show is right now. But the House Museum owns this piece, Peacock. Just think this is an extraordinary piece. Let's just look at the source one more time real quick. Right, so you see the color intentions are there. Look at the shapes of the flowers. Look at the body language between, I guess, what is a peacock and a peahen, possibly. Look at the shading. That bronzy green is a big deal because that is the personality of the piece, is the bronzy green. And the flowers are handled in a less jagged kind of manner. The shapes are much softer, like more rounded shapes, and sweeter and softer. But all of the other information in the background that it really is superfluous is taken out. And instead we're seeing just the ground with this bronzy green, the interaction of the two birds, and a sort of field of flowers that are done in a much more delicate, they almost look like lollipops or balloons. And the one that really kills me is the one flower that's right in front of the peacock's face. It's like speckled purple and white. And I think, God, I'm going to have dreams about that little bit of this composition, because I wonder what that material looked like. I wonder if it was one piece of material or if it was white with a few purple bits added, right, to fill it out. And I love how the hit or miss background using just these bronzy greens and other greens and company. I love how it took over. Like, it took on a personality of its own. It just covered the whole background. I like it so much more than the composition with the sort of architectural stones and stuff like that. This is just, oh, God, it's a tremendous piece, isn't it? Such a lot of fun. And then this is a piece that Winifred designed that was also made by Florence Williams, Owl, 1968. This is also in a private collection. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm skipping all over the place, but we're looking at rugs by designers who we've talked about now, and maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller. Sorry about that. There's so many rugs in here I'm not showing you. There's so much for you to enjoy. These are compositions we've never seen before. I mean, it's just so exciting to see rugs that I have not seen before. The one on the page before of the peacock and the peahen, that is the only one in this book that I've ever seen before. And I mean, this book is, it's over 100 pages. Like this, there's so much in here. It's the dream. It's the dream that I always talk about, where I'm in a house, right? Because I'm always surrounded by garbage, because there's never enough room wherever we are. There's never enough room. I'm in the house. I know you've had this dream too. And you open a door and there's like another wing of the house, or at least there's another room, and you think, like, you step into it and you're like, oh my God, how did I not know that this was part of the house? Have you had, I mean, this is the best. This is better than like winning cash or finding cash dream, because it's like you're so happy when you're there. You found a whole other wing of the house. And sometimes for me, there's like another set of stairs, or there's like rooms with paintings or stuff that people left. And yeah, it's exciting. Um, this book reminds me of that because it's like I'm opening the book and these are, I think I've seen all of the, older, oh, moth. That is not a fabric moth, but I'm sorry. I'll go off camera because he can't be with us. Sorry. He is a pantry moth or something. He has got to go. Sorry. Sorry about that. Sorry. That's not very festive for a Friday. He scared me. He came right at me. Ha. Huh. I'm not saying he deserved it, but like, no thanks. That scared me. I've got like lights blasting. That's why. I just love seeing these things that I've never seen before. I can't believe that these were here all along, made in the 60s and 70s and earlier. Never seen any of these images. It is a real gift. Veronica, great to see you. Yeah, I love this too. I think you mean this one. This is like a snow owl or something like that, right? Just the coloration. Oh, you scared me. Just the coloration on the body, right? The sort of little pinpricks of colors. Absolutely gorgeous. The expression on the face, right? And you're right, the landscape. Oh, Rita says the red was probably red flannel union suit, PJs. Could absolutely be because it is that bright tomato red. You're right, because it is a solid red. Absolutely. And we see in New England, we see more um, the red with the green, like the red flannel, like the red flannel. What do they call it? Not Black Watch. That's the blue and whatever. Had a special name, but it came out. I mean, I just hooked some last night in one of the pieces for the Rose Book. The with most predominantly red and green. Looks very different, but the solid red could absolutely. That's a great thought. Be one of those like sleep suits or clothing you would wear under other clothing. It's like another layer. Yeah, you're right. It probably is that because those are huge expanses of red. Oops, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong window. Hold on. There we go. Um, okay. So, and remember we're talking about, I messed up and I went to a different part of the slideshow. I put them in the wrong order. That must mean that I sent them to myself in the wrong order. Because remember that Jovan was talking about other designers like Li Yuan Chia, who was a Chinese artist and a friend of Winifred, and came to do some designing. So some of the rugs are designed by him, and this is one of them. So this was designed by Li Yuan Chia and made by a group of ladies meeting at the LYC Museum and Art Gallery. Remember, that was his art gallery. And this piece is called Four Storks. It was made in 1983, and it's also in a private collection. It's a remarkable piece because it does have that central motif, does have a bit of an Asian flavor for me. It is like an unusual kind of keyhole design. Color-wise, it's very dynamic, but the sort of circular motif with other spirals off of it, very unusual, very different design, very different layout. It almost reminds me of a flower petal or a Prati petal. And then we've got a motif right above and below it that is like a striped triangle. I don't recognize that motif. I would love to know if that's meant to be like a lighthouse or something like that. It could be that this is like an island. Let me see if it says anything about, let me see if there's any text about it. Not necessarily, right, because it's in someone's collection. And wait a minute, this piece is called Four Storks. Let's see, I want to show you a second piece by him as well. Four Stalks. Nope. Nope. Oh, Four Stalks was made by a group of three ladies. One of them was Nancy Harding, who used to meet at the LYC, the gallery, on Friday afternoons after the gallery had closed. Oh, that is such fun. So no more information on the design aspect of it, but it is glorious. And certainly the storks do have an Asian feel, without a doubt. But isn't it funny how, even though it does have a strong Asian flavor, Grady, it is very unique. Shay, great to see you. You loved the owl. Oh, man, good to see you. It still has that rug hooking feel, the old-time rug hooking feel, because it feels like water or air around it with the blues changing color. And it's not like, it's the old-time hooking, right? where you get dark light with more of a hit or miss feel, but it's all done in blues. We're not seeing all the light colors at the bottom, all the dark colors at the top, right? It is made to be, the whole thing is mixed, right? It is not like we're doing an ombre kind of sunset or a color shift. No, this is done in a more hit or miss style. All of that energy, and this is a 1983 piece, but it is very much in the style of an earlier hooked piece. And this is one of my favorite pieces in the book, and it is so simple. This is designed by Winifred. It's an unknown maker with this one, so they don't know who hooked this. Also in a private collection, and this is called Black Swan. Just love this piece. I love the simplicity of this piece. Yes, we've seen so many pictures of birds in rug hooking, but this has something. This has something in my mind that it's the same kind of thing that the bull had and the sheep had. It's very silhouette driven, and I don't just mean because it's a black shape and that is the main motif. I mean, there is something about the silhouette that although the lines are simple, it is very expressive and it's a very unique shape. It seems simple, but look at the fineness of the neck and angle of the neck, and then look at the tail, how it kind of bumps down where the wings would be tucked in, right, held in, and resolves itself in this little point. It's very delicate. Under the swan, there is like a layer of water, and then you see the leg underneath, like a little froth. It's making a tiny, not even froth. It's just moving the water. And the water is very still, right? It's a very gentle look. We don't see agitated water. There's something very peaceful like this. The swan is just floating along, being different, being a black swan, floating along. The motion and the angle of the leg is interesting. The color of the eye and the beak, beautiful. I love the blue. I love seeing the blue at the bottom with the sort of color changes, right, done in the sort of echo, kind of geometric fill. And then up in the sky, just a suggestion, a hint of branches coming down, flowers growing, maybe lily pads. There's some kind of vegetation there. It is such a quiet and lovely piece. It is a gentle piece, but graphically it's a face punch, right, which is just what you want it to be. The eye level, right, right where the water ends, right on the horizon line, that's an interesting choice because that's typically not done. It puts much more of the story in the blue area where the bird is. And for me, it makes it all the more interesting to kind of look at the abstract nature of the natural forms at the top, right? The plants and flowering things. It's a very unusual piece. It's very simple. And for me, it's really remarkable that there's so much charm in a piece that is as simple as this. It really has something, doesn't it? I love that Black Swan. Now, this is the other piece I wanted to show you by Li Yuan Chia. And this is a circle rug, and this is called Hanging Discs. There's some beautiful pictures of him in his studio. There's a beautiful photo. Let me show you the photograph of him and Winifred in 1975 at his gallery, which was again called the LYC. Oh, wait a minute. I'm on the wrong window. That's not going to help us, is it? See if I can get this in focus. I should have put that into the slideshow. It's just nice to see what people look like, you know. God, can you imagine the fun? I mean, just a village, just walking around this little village. And I don't know how remote it is as far as the placement of the cottages and the farmhouses and whatnot, but it must have been nice just making your way around in the evening and seeing a light on at the farm and wondering if Margaret or one of her daughters was working on a rug, or then for it to be, Friday evening and the gallery closes, the LYC, and there's people headed over there to work on rugs. I mean, it just sounds like heaven, doesn't it? It sounds like heaven. This sounds like it could be like a mini series. Man, would I dig into this mini series? It would be my favorite ever. Just hearing about these people and the friendships and the things. Oh, I'm out of focus. I'll go away. I hate it when it does that. Yeah, I'm out of focus. Didn't take much. Or am I out of focus? I think I am. Or are these out of focus? That's usually what it is. Gosh, what a world. So Hanging Discs, this was No, I'm sorry. It's not hanging discs. Hanging discs is one of the sculptures in one of the photos. This is called round white. So I have to say the names of the pieces are very descriptive, but not super romantic, right? Have you picked up on that? Like peacocks, owl, round white. Um, and, maybe that is something to do with this sort of early mid 20th century arts and crafts movement where there is the pendulum swings very far from the crazy Victorian, wild ornamentation, busyness, and there's a sort of frenetic design to the emphasis on handcrafts and the importance of heritage and being able to do things with your hands and make beautiful things with your own hands. When the emphasis moves to that during the arts and crafts period in the 1920s and 30s, here in America, like the colonial revival period, were things that are old, colonial revival, like things from colonial times, because remember they thought that hooked rugs were colonial at that point. Um, we see a lot of braided rugs and rug hooking happening in the US during that time because there is such a heavy emphasis put on being able to do these old crafts before they're lost. And during that time, it became kind of artsy in art, in fine art and painting, to name things very simple names. And I think it was, I mean, I wasn't there, but I think it was probably just the idea that you didn't want to give pretentious names to things, right? Back to basics. Like you didn't want to name things in pretentious ways. Leave that behind with the Victorians. Make something simple, call it exactly what it is, right? Just more of a sort of straightforward or streamlined back to basics approach, right? A no frills approach. And that might be one of the reasons that we're seeing very simple names assigned to pieces. It could be that they were never named, right? They just were for sale and then they were sold and then they were gone. It might be that they were never named and that in retrospect, you can only name something in a descriptive way. I mean, you would never name this after, it was sold and it belonged to someone else for years and then maybe research brings it up and you get a photograph of it and you include it in a book. You're not going to call it like Whispers of a Zodiac Night or something like that. You're going to call it, round white because it describes what the rug is. It doesn't mean that the people who designed the rugs and made the rugs had no imagination. It either means that the emphasis wasn't on what the thing was called, but indeed what the thing was, or that they just weren't named at all, right? Which I'm leaning toward the second one. So round white was made in 1969, and this is Winifred's design. And this is very different, isn't it? I mean, it does have a sort of planetary feel to it. Um, when you see this chapter and you see some of the art and sculpture that is in the LYC studio, oh, I see. LYC is the abbreviation for Li Yuan Chia. Okay, that makes sense. The LYC studio gallery. You will see that there is this sort of spacey, like interplanetary kind of feel to it. Yeah, which was just right for that time, right? Like space landing, talking about travel, space race, right? Everything to do with planets and space was very much in the news and exciting and relevant. So this rug makes a lot of sense, but as an abstract rug, just all on its own, no context, it's just a beautiful design. There's something soft and beautiful and evocative about it. I love the stripiness of the planets. It's just a beautiful, soft design that is a much later rug, but feels like it could be a Deco era rug, right? Just 1969, right? If I didn't know, I'd say this rug was like 1929, right? But all things come around again, right? The pendulum just keeps swinging. This is another example of, hold on, I'm going to get there. Skipping over some beauties. You are going to have fun with this book. I can promise you. I'm looking at mostly rugs, but lots of beautiful paintings as well. Okay, so on this page, I'm seeing, this is another postcard. And postcards, remember the peacock and the peahen, postcards are important. They're great possible inspirations. And they represent, sorry, this looks a little bit out of focus. They represent existing art. So this is a postcard of a lion and beaver. Oh, I see. Down below are the beavers chomping on wood. Do you see that? Yeah, they're tiny. They look like little cucarachas down there. So the postcard is called Lion and Beaver, and it's a postcard of a hooked rug. And this came from the American Museum in Bath, and it was sent to Winifred by friends in 1971. So obviously they thought of her when they went to this museum in Bath. And God, Bath is just one of my favorite places ever. And because it's a hooked rug, they thought of Winifred. So they got this one and they sent it to her. And you know what she had to do next, right? You know what she had to do. So this is she designed it based on the postcard, but the maker is unknown. We don't know who made it, but it was also made in 1971. So she received the postcard and she made the rug right away, and it is also in a private collection. Also on this page, you can look forward to seeing a really unusual painting by Winifred. It's called St. Mark's Lion from 1951, and it's very similar in composition to this rug. So interesting, isn't it? So this is an existing hooked rug, an older. I don't even want to say hooked rug. It says hooked rug, and I'm sure it says hooked rug at the museum in Bath. Could be a hooked rug, could be a sewn rug. My guess would be that it's a sewn rug, but it doesn't really make any difference. It's a fiber rug, and it's a beautiful early, very primitive composition. I know I've seen this image before. It's just beautiful. Just love that busy background, right? So inspiration is everywhere. It is with the children. It is with postcards that come and go. This is another one. Let me find this one. Hold on. There it is. So this is a newspaper cutting that Winifred found that she fixed to a piece of paper with instructions, right, for how to hook it. So she pulls this out of a newspaper. I love seeing tape like this, isn't it? It looks much older than it is because this is like the 1960s. But yeah, the tape looks right like much older tape. I love that. But anyway, she loved this design, and she puts instructions all over the edges of it to say how it should be done because she wants it to be done differently. So she designs this piece, and she adapts it, as you will soon see, and it's called Dancing Panther Cub. I'm going to show you the picture of it framed. So it was done in 1966, and it was hooked by Florence Williams, right? I would dare say this is her like most popular hooker. This is my favorite piece by Florence is still The Witch with the cat, and my second favorite is still The Scarecrow because I love that season. But I have to say, all of Florence's really appealed to me because each woman is hooking in a very different style, right? You can see that again, can't you? So you can see what this had in common with the clipping from the newspaper, but it is very different. The composition is completely different. Let me just show you. It's not just the orientation, right? Because this is set into a tipped square, right? So it looks like a diamond almost. And it almost has that unicorn tapestry feel with this lush background of plants and very naturalist but formal depiction of plants and flowers, whereas it formal and very antique feeling, right? And in the piece that Winifred designs and Florence hooks, it's way more of an English design. Like we still have the same character, right? The body of the panther is the same, right? That's exotic and interesting. But these look like English wildflowers and little English birds, right? With their little colored chests and their tiny little beaks and all of the local flowers, right? So we are seeing the same piece, but a completely different composition. It has been just squared out with a fairly large border. Remember, Florence didn't like doing borders, but the other piece had a very heavy border, and there are lots of ideas of Winifred's built into this, of course. So we do have a heavier border, which is different for Florence, but instead of having this sort of anonymous, engraved flowers, we're looking at what look like local flowers, and so much more charm for that feature. And all of the little birds and characters who are present. The colors, I think, are tremendous. That grayish green ground with pops of gray. If you notice, I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, so you're going to go for a ride for a second. If you notice, Florence the border lines, right? Not on the outer border, but in the inner border. She's using a little bit of black, coral, lilac, and purple. So really unusual. She's got lots of pinks, purples. As your eye travels around, the flower that's right in front of the panther, the pink one with the big black center, that's like some kind of a patterned pink and black. So she's got, this is what makes me crazy. I would love to get my hands on a pink and black wool, you know. Um, she's got lots of textured materials in here, and she does do this very colorful hit or miss. This is her look. This is what she likes to do, very colorful hit or miss. Whereas some of the others like to stay much more literal, looking at a landscape, right? Mary's were much more literal, the color breakdown of landscapes, but the ones that Florence does are wildly colorful. No matter what the motif is, she really infuses the background fills with really bright colors that she obviously really relishes. Beautiful piece. Love this piece. This is an interesting piece that I wanted to show you for a specific reason. So this is obviously a painting, and this is called Day and Night Paris. This is one of Winifred's paintings from 1936. It's oil on board. It is at the Sainsbury Centre at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. And the reason I wanted to show you this, it's positioned against, and this is Jovan, this isn't me, this is Jovan being brilliant. It's positioned against the hooked rug that is on the back of the book. So let me show you that for a second. I'm going to come to you on camera. Right, this is the image on the back of the book with the sun and the moon. And it's this wonderful play on dualities or dark and light, day and night. You choose your own duality, right? It's not very catchy, is it? But choose your own. So in the hooked rug, you're seeing the sun and the moon. It's really very fetching piece, isn't it? I mean, who wouldn't love this piece? But just the idea and knowing that years before this piece was made, Winifred was interested in the idea of dark versus light or dualities in general, right? It's such a broad word, but artists from that time, I mean, I'm thinking of Agnes Pelton, and I'm thinking of Hilma af Klint, and a lot of artists at that time who experimented with dark versus light as kind of a metaphor for human nature, for good versus evil, right? For you, again, you pick your metaphor. But I love that he positioned the pages like this, where we're seeing both the painting from the 1950s and the rug with the composition split in half, dark and light. And, you know, it's just part of the happiness of going through this book and actually reading it and looking, is I just feel like I had a feel for what Winifred was like, right? And I had that feeling anyway from her still lifes, because her subjects are so small, like a glass jar or a cup, a drinking cup with flowers, wildflowers from outside the door. I already felt like I kind of knew her, you know, just from her work. And now looking at her rugs, I feel that even more. And the idea that she was the kind of a person who her great ideas never left her, right? This whole thing with the dark and light, the painting of Day and Night, Paris, 1936, not 1950s, 1930s, sorry, and the 1970 piece called The Sun and the Moon, the fact that she always, across all of those years, had it in her to do dark and light compositions, right? It's a subject that she was interested in. She's interested in compositions where the device works like this. It's just interesting to know, isn't it? Because some artists, you know, again, in my opinion, being around artists a lot more when I was younger and in art schools and doing all that scene, some artists are so insincere, you know. I mean, people are too, but some artists that stick with it are so insincere and are kind of like they consume the thing of the moment and then they move on, right? And it's like it never happened. It's like they have no memory of it. It's like it served its purpose. They consume it and obliterate it, and then they move on to the next thing. I feel like that a little bit. Sorry about Picasso, but I feel like that about a lot of artists. But my favorite artists are people who I don't get that feeling about. I feel like they're people who you look at their work from decades earlier or later or whatever, and you see the same ideas, like the same compositions, the same structures, the same tricks and tropes and devices. And I feel like that's a sincere person, right? That's a person who was sincerely interested in this conversation in 1936 and is still interested in it in 1970. It wasn't consumed, spit out, pooped, whatever, and moving cat in the litter box, comes shooting out, never to be seen again. Um, there is no disassociation with motifs that she loved. She returns to them again and again, like a glass of flowers in a windowsill, right? She returns to that again and again and again and again, and she returns to it because she loves it, right? It means something to her, and the same principle is here in her rug making. So she is kind of dipping backward into her body of work, um, her paintings, the things that she enjoyed in her paintings. She's incorporating them and using them as the basis for her rug compositions. Of course she is, right? That makes perfect sense. And she's also smart enough to know, in terms of composition, from an artist's point of view, she's smart enough to know what works as a rug and what doesn't, right? Because some of her paintings have incredibly fine detail and traces of cubism or expressionism, and those are not present in her rug making. I think in part because she knows it's not going to translate very well, number one. And number two, the thing she loves about rug making is the return to the naive, right? So she doesn't want to do that with a modernist twist and show you like the flavor of the month art movement, right? She's going to stick with compositions that she feels fit in under the umbrella of naive art, right? And in the U.S., we are already starting to say folk art. So in there, it's the same thing. Naive art, folk art, it's the same thing. It's all language, right? It's just shifts in language. So I'm bringing you to the end at this point. Let's come over here and see this piece. Okay, so hold on just a minute. I want to come to this chapter first. It says promotion. While makers generally sourced their own materials, Winifred frequented jumble sales, which are like yard sales or barn sales, to buy additional textiles to help introduce brighter colors, and some offcuts of Danish printed and woven fabrics were provided by Jake Nicholson's company. We have talked about that quite a bit. Foursquare Designs, definitely, right? That was a few years ago, but yeah. Which he started in London around 1972. Joyce Gass, Emma Gass's daughter. I remember Emma Gass that had the tools. I showed you the pictures of the proddy and the hooking tools. Joyce Gass recalls buying bags of offcuts from mills where almost all the material could be used. The finest of the rugs were sold through Primavera, the craft shop in Cambridge in 1968. Oh man. They were Greyhound by Brown, Mermaids, and St. George and the Dragon by Janet Heap. So then there's a list of Whale Fossil Brown by Florence Williams. That one is in this book. I didn't show you that one. It's a very curious one. Whale Fossil Brown, St. George and the Dragon, Turkey, Tiger was one. So, okay, that Winifred chose to be sold in Primavera. So that was the selling outlet for these rugs. Let's see. Okay, interesting. I'm just looking quickly. So this chapter about promotion is like, okay, so the rugs were designed and made, and now they need to be sold. So where will they be sold? Where will the outlets be where they will be sold? That's what this chapter is about. Interesting. I really want to dig into this chapter too. So that's the promotion chapter. I want to show you this piece. So this is another, it doesn't have any, oh yes it does. This is one of Mary Bewick's pieces, Two Cats by the Fire. Have we seen this before? We have seen this before, but this is different yet again. And there are more versions of it in this book. But this is Mary's version, and the fire is actually a fire this time and not a stove. And there aren't giant flowers in the border. It's an almost abstract kind of cross between hit or miss and clamshell, or marble cake and clamshell. curious. This was done in 1970. This is one of Mary's. This was definitely used on the floor because you can see what the border, the outline looks like. And hold on a second. This is going to get you. And here's a photograph. Let me make it just a little bit bigger. I hope it's good enough focus. A photo of a photo. Um, this is Kathleen Rain, who's second from the left. Second from the left. So she's got the brown sweater and the plaid skirt. Outside the mausoleum, which is spelled like mouse hole. So that might be, let me see if I can find a reference. I know Mousehole is a town also in Cornwall. I wonder if that is in Cornwall. I guess it doesn't really matter, and it would be here in the book somewhere. That's Kathleen outside the mouse hole or mousel with two cats by the fire, the rug that you just saw that Mary Bewick had made. And you see at this moment, this is interesting too. Take a look at this. You see how the border is very red, like there is that red stripe around the border, like a dark red. Very, very pretty. I love this place too. I mean, look at the flowers. Oh my God. This is 2 years before I was born. It's so weird to think that. Because this could be like yesterday or tomorrow, you know. Anyway, look at that red border because this rug was bought. And after it was used, there's hardly any red border on it anymore. You can see a little glimpse of it. But the whipping, or however it was finished, it looks like whipping or maybe wrapping, was pretty worn. I mean, the rug held up beautifully, but it's not pristine, like obviously it was when it was born and taken away. And look at how white it is in the center when it was first bought, and all of those yellow flames. And of course, once it's used and time goes by, it's more gray in the center. And it's not necessarily that it's dirty. It's like smoke and things that would discolor it. And it's a lot less yellow, isn't it? There's a lot more orange and darker colors in there. Interesting, isn't it? So, and I'm not going to show you any of this part of the book because there's still more of the book. There's a lot more to read about the outlets, the promotions, where they were able to sell these rugs that were being made. Because, yeah, this is a lot of rugs we're talking about. And the last chapter, I think, is really beautiful as well. It's called Resonances. And it's like echoes of Winifred, Ben, like the whole group, right? But let's stick with Winifred, mostly Winifred. Echoes of Winifred's influence and work and her hooked rugs with more contemporary artists. So I'm not going to show you any images from this chapter, but very familiar names here like Emma Tennant, and we covered Emma's book years ago. Beautiful hooked rug by Emma Tennant. Louisa Creed, and you know we've covered her book recently. She sent me one of her beautiful rugs is one of my great treasures in my life. Cafe Fassett, that's another name that we know. You know, he does mostly home decorating and knitting and quilting, but he has done hooked rugs. And if you have all of his books like I do, I mean I idolize the man, you'll recognize his hooked rugs. And there's a beautiful one. I'll just flash it to you of a turkey in this chapter, Resonances. So all the sort of greatest hits of contemporary rug hookers, many of whom you know, you've heard of. It's just it's fantastic. I was seeing all kinds of rugs, you know, 2013, 2023, and these are British rugs. So you might not have seen these rugs. I have seen a couple of them, but not most of them, and it's exciting. And I don't even know all of these names, and they are in private collections. So here's your chance to see some like very contemporary rugs that are very different. Yeah, so Resonances, where rug hooking went right immediately after. And then there's a chapter on Chillingham Castle, and it says there is a remarkable parallel between Winifred Nicholson's approach to rug making and to the rag rugs at Chillingham Castle in Northumberland. The collection of rugs at Chillingham is extensive and the result of the vision of Sir Humphrey Wakefield. Amongst his many outstanding achievements, Sir Humphrey is an international furniture expert and designer with a lively eye for art objects. So when in the mid-80s he came across a rag rug frame, he was intrigued enough to purchase it. But it was left to his two local helpers, Lily Rochester and Annie Webb, to explain what it was used for. As local children growing up in Northumberland in the 1930s, they were well versed in how to make rugs, and Sir Humphrey soon commissioned some rugs, oh my God, from them, thus also creating jobs in the remote and rural area, with the result that Chillingham now, oh my God, now boasts an exceptional collection of over 40 rugs. Okay, that just gave me a stomach cramp. It's like I'm leaving on a jet plane, people. I'm springing out of this chair and leaving on a jet plane. 40 rugs. These are rugs I will not have seen before. Like Winifred, Sir Humphrey had great confidence in the natural creativity of the makers, who came from a local rural community and had no formal art education. Just the love and desire to make rugs in the traditional way learned from their families. So this is a whole chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is a whole chapter. And there's even a picture of the chapel, at Chillingham Castle with rag rug cushions. And they are sort of repeat cushions, but beautiful design of bowls and stuff. Oh, you're just going to, yeah. Let me read part of the conclusion, though, and that'll top us up for the night tonight. And this, of course, is written by Jovan Nicholson, right, the author of this book. Conclusion. Rag rugs are, by their very nature, a versatile medium whose varied possibilities are actively explored by modern makers. Rather than just rugs, the technique can be employed to make a wide variety of items, including tea cozies, cushions, seat covers, wreaths, bags, brooches, Christmas stockings. Equally, the materials do not necessarily have to be just old clothes, but beads, sequins, plastic, netting, sweet wrappers, candy wrappers, can be intertwined with other sewing techniques like embroidery, stitching, and heat bonding to fix them to Hessian burlap. One of Brittany Fraser's creations at Redcar Palace was made from discarded J clothes. J clothes, J-A-Y, from discarded J clothes. I don't even know. That's too British. I don't know what that is. Given this burst of creativity, okay, I don't want to read this whole thing. It's good. It's very poetic. It's very lyrical and lovely. There's so much that is uncertain or mysterious about the rag rugs Winifred encouraged to be made. For example, it is surprising that Winifred's daughter, Kate, who was an accomplished artist, never designed rugs herself. Are any of the very finest rugs that were sold at Primavera still in existence? And yet, despite the rugs' tendency to get flooded, succumb to chip pan fires, or be savaged by moths, precisely because so many were created and the owners have treasured them so much, many survived, and many of them are in almost perfect condition. In addition, as only about half the rugs Winifred herself designed are available for analysis, it is difficult to make a full assessment, I bet. All right, well, I'm going to have to read the rest of this in bed. It's so much information. It's such good information. It's exactly what we do, right? But it's a little bit earlier. It's on another continent, unless you are watching from the UK. And if you are, I'm so jealous because you can go to this exhibit. I'll say again, in case you joined us a little bit later, you can go to this exhibit. You can go to, I was going to say Chislehurst, but that's not. That's the caves. Chillingham. Was it Chillingham Castle? I want to get it right. Hang on. Sorry. Chillingham Castle, yep. So the exhibit of Winifred's rugs and paintings is currently at the Tullie House, Tullie, in Carlisle until June 15th, and then it will be moving from July 19th through November 16th to a place called the Hub in Sleaford, Lincolnshire. So if you are in the UK or you are visiting the UK during that time, and I really hope to, you will be able to see these rugs. And what a gift, right? What a joy. What a joy. And if you're not able to, guess what? Here it is. So the link for this rug going to Amazon should be in the description of this video. If you are in Canada, make sure you're on Amazon.ca, right? Because you don't want to do shipping if you don't have to. It'll ship locally for you. So it is there on Amazon. However you feel about Amazon, this is the reason I'm on Amazon and I use it because I find things like this there. And what a treasure. What a super treasure. Again, I want to thank my friend Robin in Wisconsin for alerting me to this book because I do go on every now and then to see if there are any new books on rug making, but there rarely are. So sometimes I don't go on for a while. And she found this one, and I pre-ordered it, and I was waiting for it to come out, and it did, and I was so happy and relieved when it came out. Um, because I love the Nicholsons. I love the story of the Nicholsons. I love the art. I particularly love Winifred and her still lifes. But the rugs, right? I mean, you can't beat the rugs. What a beautiful array of, what a lot of variety, but also what great storytelling behind the making of these rugs and the community that was formed to try to make a bit of money, right? And sell some of these things and feed the market. There was a supply and demand thing at that time. People wanted folk art. People wanted naive art. And it was interesting again. And there was a demand, and they supplied. And what a great account of the designs, of the family, of the other makers, of the community, of the whole enterprise, right? It really is such a beautiful story. I hope that you get this book if this has interested you. I started talking about the book on Monday, and tonight we concluded the episode. And again, highly, highly, highly recommend. I personally couldn't live without. So I hope that you enjoyed these two shows. I hope that if you are in England or you're somewhere where you can travel or you can take a trip, that you will visit the exhibit in person. And I can promise you in the meantime that I'm going to do everything I can to be sure that this exhibit heads this way, because we really do need to be celebrating our own rug hooking history in North America, but we also equally need to be celebrating rug making from other places. And certainly the UK is like, I mean, it's like a sister or stepsister, right? Slightly different history, but really by the end of the 20th century, we're almost in the same place. Although you gotta acknowledge, in the UK, it's still very common to be using burlap as a backing. I'm using burlap as a backing on the piece I'm working on here, but it's not typical at all in the U.S. We have really changed our supplies and our what sort of equipment we believe that we need to use to make a rug, and this really harkens back to this Winifred's rugs and the makers. All of this on Hessian/burlap harkens back to the earliest rugs, right? So it is important to celebrate hooking history from everywhere, but I think particularly from the UK because it is similar enough to be relatable and translate easily, but it is different enough to kind of re-inspire you and create sort of a little renaissance in your heart to get you going and thinking again on what does it take to just create a design, right? They were drawing them right on the backing fabric, just giving the idea and saying, go for it, do it, right? This is what should be made next, and then we'll figure out how to sell it. And yeah, and the idea of sort of, what's the word, empowering the makers to have so much creative control over what the thing would look like, just shows just such great and happy relationships. Here's another one of these little guys. It's not a moth. I'm going to show him to you and see if he comes to me. They're tiny little, I wonder if it's a young ladybug. I've seen a few of these. You know what? I think it is. I think it's a young ladybug. They're tiny little beetle bugs with kind of black and yellow, tiny, tiny, tiny. No, it won't come to me. Oh, there it is. Let me see if I can show it to you. I wonder if you are seeing these little guys. Probably not going to come into focus. He's a tiny little thing. Yeah, he doesn't want to come into focus. But he's got like black and yellow spots. Very small. He's really tiny. I think I'm going to put him outside. But I've seen these in the house a lot. I wonder what that's about. I hope that's not something really bad. I'm going to take him outside before he gets nervous. Anyway, it was great spending some time with you tonight. I loved looking at this book. I just loved it. I have so many ideas right now, and I'm gonna see what I can do and where we can go with this, and yeah, we'll see how far we get. I think we all want to see these rugs. Dave, USA loves kitchen sponges. Canadians love cloths. True, or as my dad would say, serviettes. Yeah. Oh, J rags. Okay, that's what J rags are. Okay, thank you. I told he flew away. Okay, so he's okay. He flies. He was just being a baby. He wanted transportation. Yeah, he's gone. He's somewhere. Um, thank you. I had no idea what J rags were. I appreciate it. That's part of that close knit Canadian UK culture, isn't it? Yeah, funny. Wonderful evening. Hope you. Yep. Oh, Carol, I'll be there. Make sure you say hi. I would love to see you there. And Gail says this has been great. Have a nice weekend. You too, Gail. You are already into your Saturday morning. Have a great day. Yeah, and if you are at the Fiber Festival tomorrow in North Haven, Connecticut, I'm going to be there in the morning. It opens at 9. I'll probably be there, I don't know, between 9 and 10. And I'll be visiting my friend Naomi at Ravensgate Primitives, and I'll be seeing who else is there. And yeah, please do come and say hi. I'd love to say hi and chat. Maybe do like a video of the stalls or take a picture together or something like that that I can share on Monday for coffee time. I'll be back with you on Monday for coffee time. In the meantime, I'm finishing off my patterns, my rugs for the rose book, and I'm doing a little bit of designing for Halloween. Looking forward to the Mystic carpet book. Let me know if you're interested in having something in the Mystic carpet. Yeah, so I'm working on some projects like that, and I'm putting Magpie together. So the stuff is not due until May 1st, but I got a lot of my stuff ready. And if you do too, make sure you go ahead and send it so I don't overwhelm Judy with editing at the last minute. Um, yeah, it was great spending time with you today. I will see you soon. I will see you Monday for something. I don't know what yet. And in the meantime, have a great weekend and maybe see you in